Courtland, we've held you check a little bit the past few weeks. How did it feel to kind of get out and get a game where you got your catches and got your yards, even some touchdowns?
Honestly, it's not really about me. I mean, anybody who's watched any interview I've done postseason or preseason, I always tell people, if I get 2 catches or how many yards or how many catches or whatever, and we get the win, it is what it is. I'm doing my job. My job is to do my 111th on the field, and if that means myself having a lot of catches or myself being a decoy, then I'm gonna do what I have to do to make sure that I'm doing my job for the offense to be successful. I mean, we've been putting up 300 yards rushing, 200 yards receiving in multiple games, and that's without me, having a lot of yards, having a lot of catches. That's me, doing my part in decoy and taking 2 or 3 out of the equation so that the running backs can have holes and so that the rest of the militia can, have chances to make plays, and they have been making plays as we've seen by the numbers. So, it feels good to be able to contribute to the game. Definitely feels good to be able to do that. But I mean, I feel like I've been contributing all season, just in a different way.
It wasn't until the fourth quarter that the offense really strung together successful drives. There's a lot of switching between the quarterbacks in the first 3 quarters. Did that affect any rhythm at all for the offense?
I don't think so. I think we get a really good look in practice. We have DJ going with the ones and Ben going with the ones and vice versa, and it helps the flow that way in games like this. When it does happen, it's not a huge switch, and it doesn't hurt the offense in any type of way, because we've seen the look and we know what it's like with having DJ at the helm or having Ben at the helm, or even if Rafe comes in and has to hold it down at the QB position. We get that look in practice, so it doesn't really affect us when we get into the game if it happens.
Brian Becker had a big punt in the fourth quarter. Could you sort of feel the momentum shift after that play?
Oh yeah, Coach Trey always tells us about the the mojo flipping sides, and it can flip easily, and that right there easily put the mojo back on our side, and offense was able to capitalize. We were able to capitalize on that really quickly, which is always good to be able to capitalize on a turnover like that. Especially scoring when you have mojo on your side of the field, that's really important, because you can really kill the will of an opposing team if you do something like that. So that was huge, and Coach always talks about the small things. I'm pretty sure I hear it all the time, but the small things, bringing the nails in. And some people might think that Becker just jumping up in there every single time, him not getting it, and then the one time he does get it, it's like, oh wow, he's actually doing something, to contribute. That's him doing his 111th, and he's doing his job to our standard, which is best, and it showed.
Coach Morris was saying that, as pleased as he was with the way you all played in the fourth quarter, he wasn't thrilled with the third quarter, and he said the first half was a little lethargic too. Is that the kind of thing that you and your teammates can see during warm-ups or even in the days leading up to a game? Do you have any indication if it's going to be a little slow coming out of the gate like that?
Honestly, it kind of caught a lot of us off guard, because we've had a great week of practice. This morning was great. The warm-ups were great, but I think when you go into a game and things don't start clicking right away, it's kind of easy for a few, for a lot of people to fall back a little bit. But as Justin said, our culture is strong, and it's easy for us to be able to fall back on that. And we have a strong culture. If it slips, it's never a step back. It might be a setback, but it's never a step back, as Coach always says. And that's one thing that's huge about our culture. It allows us to, if we have a situation where we don't, play to our standard the first quarter, second quarter, or even the first couple plays or in a few drives, we're able to fall back on that culture, and that culture can propel us through and get us back to our standard to where we can compete at a high level.
Then what changed in the fourth?
The mojo and the culture hit. The culture sunk in. I mean, we hit that water where the leaders had to get people together, get people to understand that we weren't competing at our standard, and if we didn't want to be in a dogfight all the way till the clock said 0, we were going to have to change something. And that's when you see the Brian Becker, that's when you see the Shane Haley forced fumble and the Delano fumble recovery. That's when you see those things start to happen. You start seeing the culture set in, and those are the things that set into our culture, because Coach always talks about finishing empty, and we, as y'all saw, we finished empty. The fourth quarter was huge for us, and that's everybody laying it out, because we knew what we had to do to finish that game strong.
Do you agree with Justin that this isn't a game that y'all would have won like a year ago?
I definitely agree, because our culture was still trying to be solidified, and I think it's at the point now that we understand the culture so much and it's so embedded into us that we don't let small things affect us as much as it probably would have affected us a year ago.
What do you think of Trey Quinn, and how much do you respect his game?
Trey Quinn is an excellent counterpart to myself on the other side of the field, and he's an excellent leader for our militia and for this team as well. He's not as vocal as a lot of other leaders of the team, but he leads by example. He goes out every single day and he works his butt off, and that's something that I admire. He doesn't even see me watching him work, and I tell him every single day. I said, you know, me and you got to make sure we're working to our top ability, because people are watching us. Even if we don't think they're watching us, people are watching us. And I watch him. He might not know it, but I watch him because his work ethic is second to none on this team. And I think having a guy like that, to where he doesn't say much, but he goes out and works every single day, that's something that a lot of teams need. Somebody that everybody can just look at and say, this guy's going to show up every single day and give us his best. And if we don't have the energy, if we feel like we don't have the energy to compete today, we just look at him and he's going to give us the energy, because we see him competing and grinding every single day and giving it his best.
Anything else for Courtland?
How much friendly competition, I guess, is there between you and Trey or the rest of the receivers? Obviously, you both had a couple of touchdowns today, but Trey had 15 catches, but other weeks it's you or James Prochet or whoever it is. How much rivalry and friendship is there or competition is there within that room?
I wouldn't say it's a rivalry or a competition. It's just us pushing each other to be the best we can be. The militia is a strong group, and we know that in order for this offense to be successful, we got to make sure we're doing our part. You know, we have to make sure that we're doing our 111, taking care of our 20 square foot of this team, and that it kind of revolves around our name, you know, being that we're the one part of this big army, you know, and we got to make sure that for the army to be successful, the army to be able to move forward, we have to take care of our 111 for the team, and that's huge, you know, for us to be able to do, is just make sure we show up every single day and make sure that nobody has to look at us and say, well, the receivers aren't carrying their weight. We want to make sure we show up every single day and we do our job to make sure the team is successful.